Hey everybody, it's time for another Rahdo Rules Run-Through with Ryan, and today we've got Sea of Legends. Ryan, all hands on deck.
Thanks, Rahdo. Evil zombie pirates are about to take over the Caribbean. Thank goodness I just formed an evil zombie pirate alliance. Hi, it's Ryan from Knights Around a Table. Here's how you play Sea of Legends. You and your friends play sea captains tooling around a fantasy Caribbean, trying to become the most notorious pirate around. You'll hang out in taverns, hire crew, discover powerful relics, bury gold, upgrade your ship, and go on adventures, all while aided by your lover and stymied by your nemesis. But there are sinister forces afoot, from British and Spanish navies trying to rain on your parade, to zombies and merfolk who threaten to overrun the Caribbean. The first captain to attain 10 notoriety points wins the game, but if you're not careful, certain non-player factions could win the game before you even get a chance. If you manage to ally with them, you could even win alongside the bad guys. Setup. Sea of Legends comes standard with the cardboard Caribbean, but you could also get a cool neoprene playmat, so let's go with that instead. You begin the game by rolling one of these blue captain dice. Whichever player rolls the highest number goes first and takes the start player token. In clockwise order, everyone chooses a captain, and each captain has a unique ability. Your captain card is double-sided. You start on the standard side, but you can become a legendary captain if you complete your captain's story arc by going on 3 adventures. You start with a dinky little ship and 3 underpowered but trusty crew members. You're dealt 3 character cards off the top. You get to choose one of these people to be your lover, and one to be your nemesis. The other card goes to the briny deep. Your lover has abilities that will help you throughout the game, and your nemesis has powers to thwart you. These little double-sided tokens keep track of how powerful each character is. The rose refers to your lover, and the dagger refers to your nemesis. Your lover and your nemesis can both level up throughout the game, and you can go on adventures to power down your nemesis. Each of these tarot cards mentions a home port, so put an adventure token on the map to represent the starting point for your captain, your lover, and your nemesis. You'll be able to go on adventures when you sail to the regions with those tokens in them, and take the Go on an Adventure action. The miniature representing your captain goes in the same region as your captain chit. Or you could use a ship mini if you don't like the idea of your captain's body just floating around the board. Either way, make sure your mini gets a plastic ring in your color. You kick things off with $8, and you've got a handful of flags to place on any ports you conquer during the game. You also get a secondary lover/nemesis token in your player color, in case you go on an adventure that nets you another character to love or hate. There are 5 different non-player factions in the base game. You'll always play with the Spanish Armada, and then you get to choose 2 more, between the British Empire, the Atlantean Usurpers, the Children of Tolok, and the Dread Tide. Each faction has its own goals it's trying to accomplish, which are usually at odds with what you're trying to do. And certain factions can even steal the game out from under you if you let them get too big for their britches. Let's play with the Spanish Armada, the Children of Tolok, and the Dread Tide. I'll go over how each faction works in more detail a little later on. Among these 3, the only faction that starts the game with a presence on the board is the Spanish Armada. So you have a little time to get established before the Caribbean goes crazy. You also have to place these summoning relics on the 4 corners of the map for the Children of Tolok. Ooh, ominous. Each faction has 1 or 2 cards that give you the stats on the members of that faction. They always begin with a marker on level 1. Most factions have a handful of small grunt minis, and then a large impressive figure representing that faction's big boss. They also have a deck of faction-specific cards that may come into play as you go on different adventures. There are even some faction-specific character cards. The factions also come with a booklet describing their special rule sets, or in new versions of the game, you also get some easy-to-read flowcharts. You have to assemble and shuffle together an event deck containing cards that match each faction with your game's player count in the corner. You also shuffle together a tavern deck, a ship deck with all of the starting ships weeded out, and a crew deck with all of the starting crew members excluded. These are the 4 blue captain dice that you'll always roll during battle, and these are the less powerful bonus dice that you get to add to your rolls through special cards and abilities. The last player in turn order places a Spanish galleon on the map in any empty region that doesn't have a port. You can tell a port by this line with some flags beneath it. The rulebook has a page depicting a beginner setup for your first game, along with a strategy guide for each captain. Cool! Finally, you fire up the Sea of Legends app on your device of choice and plug in everyone's captain, lover, nemesis, and the 2 optional factions you chose. Each captain then gets to read a prologue story before the game begins, regardless of turn order. And now, it's time to play! Your turn! The player with this token gets to go first. Everyone takes a turn going around the table clockwise, and when you get back to the starting player, that player moves the 3 different non-player factions according to the unique rule set that governs each faction. The starting player ends the round by drawing an event card that may introduce the other factions to the board or make the factions or your nemesis character more powerful. Then you pass the start player token on to the next player and play another round, repeating that flow until someone either wins the game by earning 10 notoriety points, or one of the non-player factions wins the game, which means that all the meatbag players lose, no matter how many points they've earned. So the game is semi-cooperative, or co-opetitive. You're all competing to win the game individually, but you also have to team up to stop the non-player factions from winning before you can claim victory. Or you could make certain choices that allow you to ally with an enemy faction, and then help that faction achieve victory and win the game with your newfound non-player friends. You can earn game-winning notoriety points for doing a bunch of different things. You can buy a better ship, bury 10 gold, claim a relic, defeat certain non-player characters, especially the big ones, capture certain ports, find true love by completing your lover's story arc, or hire a crew worth 10 or more gold. Anytime you gain a notoriety point, you place a token on your captain card. But you can also lose notoriety points. So if you have a crew worth 20 gold, but then you make one of those crew members walk the plank, or you have a relic that gets you a point, but then you lose that relic, or if you fall out of true love, you'll lose one of your notoriety points. But you can never fall below 0 notoriety. On your turn, you get to move and take an action. You can move and take an action, or take an action and then move, but you just can't split up your movement by moving a little bit, taking an action, and then spending the rest of your movement points. Your movement points are determined by the speed of your ship. Just look for the little sail. So this means you can move up to 2 zones away. Certain crew members, relics, abilities, or faster ships may grant you even more movement points. Each movement point lets you move your mini to a new region on the map, as defined by these borders. Either before or after you move, you can take one of 3 actions. Go on an adventure, take a port action, or issue a challenge. Declaring a challenge is how you fight another player or NPC. Non-player characters can be either hostile, neutral, or allied with you, and their status affects how you're able to move around the map. Nearly all NPCs are hostile by default, unless a card or an ability says otherwise. If you move into a region with 1 or more hostile NPCs in it, you have to declare a challenge as the one action you get to take on your turn. So, if you've already taken an action on your turn, like if you took a port action here, you can't use your move ability and sail into this region with a hostile NPC in it, because you'd be forced to challenge the hostile NPC. And challenging is an action, and you've already taken your action, so get out of there. You can't cruise through a region with a hostile NPC in it. The hostile NPC stops your movement and demands a challenge. But if you begin your turn in a region with a hostile NPC already in it, you're allowed to use your movement to slink out of that region without having to issue a challenge. Sometimes you can pick up or drop different tokens during the game, but if you're in a region with 1 or more hostile NPCs in it, you can't pick up or drop anything without first issuing a challenge as your action and ridding that region of its hostile NPCs. And some relics or abilities let you take additional free actions on top of your regular action. But if you're in a region with 1 or more hostiles, any free actions are blocked. If you're faced with multiple NPCs, you have to fight the strongest one first. Some game effects turn an enemy faction neutral, and some stories even have you allying with certain factions, which may give you combat bonuses if you fight alongside your buddies. Let's take a closer look at the 3 actions you can choose between: adventuring, docking at a port, or declaring a challenge. Going on an adventure! You can go on 3 different types of adventures: captain adventures, lover adventures, or nemesis adventures. To go adventuring, you have to move into a region that has a token in your color, either your captain's token, your lover's token, or your nemesis's token. or your secondary lover or nemesis token if you unlock an extra character later. When you go on an adventure, the player to your left looks at the Sea of Legends app and punches in your captain's name and the type of adventure you're taking, and then reads the flavor text with a community theater level of dramatic resonance. With each adventure, you're usually given a choice between two options, and then you get some kind of reward based on which choice you make. The adventures are all tailored to the specific lover, nemesis, and captain you've chosen, and they tie into the factions you're playing with. Going on an adventure might get you gold, it might help you find a valuable relic, or you could end up allying with one of the non-player factions and it might make your lover more powerful, or hamstring your nemesis to remove negative abilities. Each type of adventure has a 3-part story arc. If you finish 3 captain adventures, you'll get to flip your captain card to the legendary side, which will give you a better special ability. If you finish 3 adventures involving your lover, you'll find true love and earn a notoriety point. And if you complete your rival storyline, you'll defeat your nemesis once and for all. Take that, sucker! When you finish an adventure, you're often instructed to move the associated adventure token to a different region, so that you'll have to chase these tokens around the map to take further adventures with those characters. Heading into port. There are 4 different port actions you can take on your turn. Visit a tavern, buy a new ship, hire new crew members, or bury gold at your hideout. Each port on the map allows you to take a different port action, so you can hire crew in Thieves' Landing, but you can't bury treasure there. You'd have to sail to Nassau to bury treasure, but you couldn't visit a tavern. You can only visit a tavern in a place like Havana. If you are at a port with a tavern and you take a port action, you draw the top card from the tavern deck. Each tavern card is divided into 3 sections. At the top, there's a tavern game that you play and cheat at because you're a pirate, and that'll get you some sort of immediate reward. Below that, there's often a rumor telling you where to find a legendary relic, or you can instantly claim a special item. That's the object printed upside down at the bottom of the card. If you go searching for a relic, then if you start or end your turn in that rumored sea zone, as a free action, you get to rotate the card and claim the relic. Oh, the rules gremlin wants you to know that items and relics are 2 different things. Items give you some sort of ability, like the thieving parrot who lets you steal something from another player one time only, while relics give you some sort of amazing ability and a notoriety point as well. This glittering eye patch lets you choose from 3 different tavern cards whenever you go pirate clubbing. So if you're hunting for treasure, relics are where it's at. If you've collected a lot of money, you can take a port action anywhere you see the X to bury your loot and buy points. Every 10 coins you spend gets you a notoriety point, and the money goes back to the supply. If you take a port action at a shipyard, you can trade in your leaky junk for a shiny new ride. Class 2 ships cost you $15 and they get you a notoriety point. Class 3 ships cost $35, but you'll likely be selling your Class 2 ship for $15, bringing the price down to $20. Buying a Class 3 ship gets you 2 notoriety points. When you trade in your Class 2 ship, you don't lose the notoriety point you gained from buying it. The stats on all ships within the first 2 classes are exactly the same. You can just fish through the deck and take the one with the name that you like best. Class 3 ships have varied stats. Some are faster, some let you roll more dice, and some let you hire more crew. So you can choose the one that best suits your strategy. You begin the game with these 3 crew members, but you can hire more crew by taking a port action wherever you see this hook symbol. Flip over 3 crew cards from the deck and hire any crew members you like by paying the cost in gold at the top right of the card. The first 2 classes of ships can only hold 4 crew, so if you hire in excess of that, you'll have to send 1 or more people home to make room. Your captain, your lover, and your nemesis don't count against your crew limit. You may complete adventures that gain you special legendary crew members, but those crew members don't take up any room on your ship either. You can turn your crew cards sideways to use their abilities. For example, tapping the navigator gets you 1 extra movement point. Whenever you take any of the 4 port actions, buy a ship, bury gold, visit a tavern, or hire a crew, you get to refresh all of your exhausted crew members. Good old grog. Capturing a port. There are 3 different things you can fight in Sea of Legends: a non-player character, a player character, or a port. Let's start with attacking a port. On guard! Ha 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 ha! Ow! When you're in the same sea zone as a port, you can try to capture it. The green flag is the port's strength. The yellow flag is the immediate gold reward you'll earn for capturing it. And some stronger ports will net you 1 or more notoriety points for taking them over. You'll resolve the battle by rolling some dice. You'll always get to roll the 4 blue captain dice, which have 2 1s, a 2, and a symbol each for your captain, your lover, and your nemesis. Certain abilities and effects let you add white bonus dice to your roll. So your baby starter ship has 1 cannon, which lets you add 1 bonus die. If you tap your gunner, you get another bonus die. And your Lure of the Gods relic gets you 1 more bonus die. The bonus dice have 3 1s on them, along with the captain, lover, and rival symbols. If you have any powers or abilities that get you bonus dice, you have to declare them before you roll. Once you roll, you can't add any more dice to the pool. You're trying to roll a number that matches or beats the strength of the port you're attacking. In this case, 5. In this example, you rolled a 3, along with a bunch of character symbols. So you haven't captured the fort quite yet, but hope is not lost. You can take those other dice and assign them to their matching characters. So, for example, for every ship's wheel you assign to your captain card, you get to fire off your captain's ability. If you're playing ton, every ship's wheel gets you a strength point. So now your total strength is 4. Well, you're almost there. You can similarly assign the rose dice to activate your lover's abilities. In this case, your lover, Deidre, lets you draw tavern cards for every rose you assign and keep 1 item or rumor. You couldn't assign any rose dice to fire off Deidre's second ability because the rose token indicates that you've only unlocked her first ability. Going on adventures with Deidre later in the game will let you move this token down to make Deidre more powerful. If you have an ability like this that lets you draw cards, you have to do it all in one go. You couldn't assign 1 die, draw 1 card, and keep an item or rumor, and then do that 2 more individual times. You'd have to assign all 3 dice, draw all 3 cards, and then choose 1 item or 1 rumor to keep. So let's see what Deidre gets us. Lucky draw! We got 2 items and 1 relic. Remember that items and relics are 2 different things. Deidre lets us hang on to either a rumor that points us to a relic on a later turn, or we can keep a less powerful item. Since we're trying to capture this port, keeping the rumor won't do us any good. So let's look at those items. If you take the big old cannonball, we can discard it to change all our roses and ship's wheels into 1s. The problem is that we've already assigned our roses and ship's wheels. Dice can't do double duty. Since those dice are already spoken for, we can forget about the big old cannonball. That leaves the infamous plank, which lets us discard it to refresh our crew. Well, hey, if we do that, we can refresh our buccaneer, who lets us turn a ship's wheel on a blue captain die into a 2. I know I just said our ship's wheels are all spoken for, but in this case, there's a little wiggle room. Instead of assigning that wheel to our captain's power and making it a 1, let's tap the buccaneer to make it a 2. And with that, we have all 5 strength we need to capture the port. But wait, there's 1 more die we have to deal with. Any daggers you roll get assigned to your nemesis at the end of the battle. The number of daggers you roll establishes the threshold of how many bad nemesis powers you'll have to activate. So if you rolled 3 daggers and your nemesis had the first 2 powers unlocked, you'd suffer these first 2 consequences, and the 3rd dagger wouldn't do anything. In our example, you rolled 1 dagger, and your rival's first 2 abilities are unlocked, so John's first bad ability triggers, which makes you lose 2 gold for every ship's wheel you rolled. But the buccaneer let you change your only ship's wheel into a 2, so it's no longer a ship's wheel. Well, that means you won't lose any gold. Get wrecked, John! If you successfully capture a port, you get the gold reward in the yellow banner, and possibly 1 or more notoriety points if the port has a red banner. Then you place one of your flags on the port. For the rest of the game, for every port with your flag on it, you'll gain $2 at the end of your turn. If you capture a port with someone else's flag on it, you boot that banner off the map. You can't have more than 1 flag on a port, but you may want to recapture a port if you already own it to get rid of certain non-player faction effects. If you fail the roll and you don't successfully capture a port, nothing happens. You just kind of blew your turn. Some adventures result in you or another faction placing a fort token on a port, which protects that port from being captured by anyone while the fort is active. Player versus plastic. The 2 other types of challenges you can issue are against another human player or against a non-player character. If you find yourself in the same sea zone as another player, as long as there aren't any NPCs here, you can fight that player. Roll 4 blue dice, plus any extra bonus dice, just like in the example we just went through, using your various abilities to manipulate the dice to establish your strength. Then hand the blue dice over to the defender, and that player will use their abilities and gain extra dice and juke the results, trying to come up with the best strength score possible. The attacker wins ties. Whoever wins the fight gets half of the loser's gold rounded down, or one of that player's items or relics, or a faction token that player might be carrying around. When you fight an NPC, you have to fight the strongest one in the C-Zone, in case there are multiple NPCs to choose from. Each NPC's battle stats are listed on a little card, and this token moves down through the game, making the NPCs stronger and scarier. As before, you have to roll dice to match or beat the NPC's strength to kick it off the map. The reward for defeating an NPC is at the bottom of the card. So defeat a Spanish galleon and you'll get 7 gold. Defeat the skeletal colossus and you'll get 2 notoriety points. Generally, if you lose a challenge against an NPC, you don't suffer any additional penalties. Faction actions. When everyone's had a turn and you loop back to the starting player, that player gets to move all of the NPC minis on the map. The starting player picks one of the 3 factions and moves all of the minis in that faction. Then the starting player chooses another faction and keeps going until all of the minis in all of the factions have had a turn. All of the factions have rules governing where they're trying to go and what they're trying to do. For example, the Spanish Armada wants to bump out any non-Spanish flags on captured ports that the Spanish are strong enough to defeat. NPCs can move cautiously, which means they'll avoid stronger NPCs, or recklessly, which means they'll just try to beeline for their target no matter who's in their way. An NPC might fight another NPC. So if the Spanish Armada enters a zone with a weaker NPC in it, it'll bump that NPC off the map. Certain NPCs will only attack one other piece, but factions like the Spanish Armada will perform a region attack, which means they'll attack everybody in the C-Zone who is hostile to Spain. If the Spanish Armada encounters a player, that player has to exhaust a crew member and get bumped to an adjacent C-Zone. Sometimes there are multiple options for how to move an NPC. If you're the start player in the decision seat, you get to choose. So you could direct an NPC to murder another NPC, or you could drive hostile factions into C-Zones with your opponents in them. After you've moved all of the NPCs in each faction, you check to see if anyone has won the game by earning 10 or more notoriety points. If 2 or more players are tied, the player with the most gold wins the game. Most factions can win the game if certain conditions are met. And of course, a human player could ally with a faction and help that faction achieve its goals. If the faction wins with an allied human player, that human player wins the game alongside the NPC faction. If you check and see that nobody has won the game yet, you draw an event card. These cards introduce new NPCs to the map, and they often strengthen the existing NPCs so they're harder to fight. They could even strengthen everyone's nemesis, helping them gain new abilities. Once the event card is resolved, you pass the start player token clockwise and begin the next round. Faction Showcase. You'll always play the game with the Spanish Armada, along with 2 other factions of your choice. The base game has 4 extra factions to choose from, and each of the expansions adds more factions that you can mix and match to change up your game of Sea of Legends. The Spanish Armada acts as the Caribbean's cleanup crew, scrubbing non-Spanish flags off of captured ports. The merfolk guardians of the Children of Talok are trying to bring these summoning relics from the 4 corners of the map to Tortuga to summon killer shrimp Titsawit. After she materializes, Titsawit boogies around the map chasing after the players with the most relics. And if she defeats you in battle, she'll take one of your relics away. If you defeat a merfolk guardian who's carrying a summoning relic, you'll take it away, but you can't drop the relic unless you want to summon Titsawit on your C-Zone and gain a point. Each relic Titsawit carries makes her stronger. If Titsawit collects 4 relics, including summoning relics, the Children of Talok win the game. The Dread Tide has undead soldiers who try to band together to form a horde. 2 soldiers form a strong allied unit, but 3 soldiers Voltron themselves into the skeletal colossus. The colossus and hordes of 3 undead soldiers go around infecting ports, which means you can't take a port action there unless you battle the port and clear out the infection. If the Dread Tide infect 5 ports, they win the game. The British faction runs around capturing ports and collecting taxes on behalf of the Empire, and you'll have to bribe them to use their ports or to sail through their sea zones. Once they earn 10 gold in taxes and bribes, they introduce the British Admiral, who's rocking a really big gun. If the British collect 40 gold, they win the game. The Atlantean usurpers are trying to murder their king, who has surfaced riding this giant goldfish laden with loot. If the usurpers deal 3 wounds to the king, they win the game. But if you defeat a usurper in battle, you get a trophy that you can give to the king in exchange for a piece of Atlantean treasure. The first Sea of Legends expansion, Rise of the Ancients, adds 4 new captains and some new factions, including the Aztecs, who work a lot like the Children of Toloc. The Spanish Armada introduces stolen Aztec gold to the map, which the Aztec champions grab to summon Quetzalcoatl, who gains new abilities with each piece of Aztec gold he reclaims. Once Quetzalcoatl gains 4 of these coins, the Aztec Empire wins. The initiates of the Ordo Nocturnus run around building temples on ports, and those temples generate more initiates. The 5th temple summons the Lovecraftian monster Nocturne, who runs around devouring temples and the initiates. If Nocturne eats 4 temples, Ordo Nocturnus wins. The Sea Coven has these elementals who target human players in Spanish galleons, dragging them towards Allura, the fury of the sea, who sucks out their souls. The Sea Coven wins when Allura sucks out 4 soul tokens. The Sentinels of Makul are a bunch of evil monkeys who want these golden fruit tokens, which you and the Spanish Armada can trade to a merchant for points. But trading a golden fruit summons Bots, a giant monkey with monkey smash powers. If the monkeys manage to manipulate the map and move the 4 magic melons to the hidden city, the Simians win it. And finally, the Sky Stalkers faction introduces harpy eggs to the board, which, when captured, become more valuable the longer you hang on to them. The harpy roams the board collecting her eggs and is neutral to all players, but if she catches someone stealing an egg, she'll become enraged and go after that player. And she can move up to 3 spaces depending on a die roll. But you need to steal those eggs because if the harpy collects 4 of them, she wins the game. Last but not least, the Vengeance of the Empires expansion brings the long-awaited French faction into the fold. The French want to capture ports, and when they do, they bring the gigantic Tarasque to the board, a massive floating city on the back of a turtle lion kind of thing. The Tarasque acts like a wild port. You can go there and take any port action you like, even multiple port actions in a single turn, for 2 gold per action. But if the French capture their 6th port, the Tarasque will become enraged and swim towards Tortuga to capture it. If the Tarasque takes over Tortuga, the French faction wins the game. The new expansion brings additional factions that I don't even know about, including a Dutchman and his ghost pirates, a Spanish general, and some kind of subaquatic monster. If you're checking out this video during the Vengeance of the Empires campaign, go to the Kickstarter page and check out all the cool new stuff they're bringing. And now, you're ready to play Sea of Legends.
Thanks, Ryan. I think we've got it. And if you folks would like to learn a little bit more about this game, you can follow the links that are on the screen right now or down in the show notes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.